Welcome to our posts. Today we will see stories of r/malicious compliance. Business class upgrade if there is room. I used to work at a regional airline. The jet we used for our flight to the big city had 6 business class seats. The business class service was really good for a 2-hour flight. It included a full bar service, a hot meal, warmed bread basket, followed by a trolley with dessert and signature coffee. The good old days. One of our regular travelers was a local business owner who was just a slimy businessman, SB. He had a reputation for making a lot of money from some pretty shady deals over the years. We would roll our eyes when we saw him coming to the check-in counter because he would always name drop and ask for special treatment. He always used the business class check-in line even though he was usually in economy. He didn't have frequent flyer status, but he was buddies with one of the airline executives and always let us know this fact when he checked in by making sure to tell us that he was good friends with Vice President Karen. He would always ask for free upgrades, extra baggage, not charging a change fee, last-minute discounts, etc. If he didn't get what he wanted, he immediately called Vice President Karen, who would usually then call us and approve whatever it was he wanted. So one day SB checks in for his flight to the big city and of course name drops and asks for a free upgrade to business class because I'm friends with Vice President Karen and said it would be okay. He was traveling on a discounted ticket that was not eligible for upgrade even if he did have an upgrade coupon, which he didn't. I informed him that he was not eligible for any upgrade on this ticket and gave him his boarding pass and sent him on his way. Of course he flips open his cell phone and immediately calls Vice President Karen. Within 2 minutes the phone at the check-in desk rings and it's Vice President Karen authorizing me to override the policy to upgrade SB to business class with no upgrade coupon required if there is room. The flight that day wasn't that busy and only one person booked in business class, leaving 5 open seats. I was really irritated, but I begrudgingly put SB on the upgrade list anyways. He returned to the check-in counter and picked up his standby boarding card and gave me that smug told you so look. But then what Vice President Karen said clicked with me: if there is room. The next passenger I checked in was a super nice lady, big smile, friendly, please and thank you. Oh, thank you so much for checking my bags to my connecting flight, that's so nice of you. I was taking my time and we were chatting a bit since it wasn't that busy. She was a teacher going on a trip to see her family and it was her first visit with them in over a year and was going to meet her new little nephew for the first time. She was overjoyed just to have the time off to travel. I typed in a few things into the computer to make it look like I was checking something about her connecting flights and then said, "Oh, you have been selected today to receive a free upgrade to business class." She was shocked. I've never flown business class in my life. This is so amazing. At that time we were rarely questioned if we upgraded someone without a certificate. Over the next 20 minutes I found excuses to upgrade 4 other passengers, one who worked for one of our top corporate accounts, one who was legitimately a frequent flyer, can't remember the other reasons, but by the time I went to board the flight I had to tell SB that I was sorry but business class was full and couldn't offer him an upgrade today. The teacher I upgraded profusely thanked me again when she boarded with the rest of the business class passengers. Little did she know that it really made my day also. Next story. Micromanaging my lunch break? Enjoy the extra paperwork. Hey folks. I have a story of malicious compliance that I think you'll appreciate. This happened at my previous job, where my manager was the definition of a micromanager. At this job, we had an hour for lunch, but the break room was small, so people usually staggered their lunch breaks. It was an unspoken rule that as long as you didn't take more than an hour and your work didn't suffer, no one really cared when you took your lunch. That was until our new manager, let's call him Dave, stepped in. Dave decided that he needed to control when everyone took their lunch breaks. He created a strict schedule, assigning each person a specific lunch hour. My assigned time was right in the middle of my most productive part of the day, which was super frustrating. I decided to follow the new lunch schedule, but I also decided to take full advantage of my rights as an employee. You see, our company policy stated that any work done during our lunch break was considered overtime and needed to be compensated. So, I started to accidentally schedule meetings, calls, and tasks during my lunch break, making sure to meticulously document every minute of work I did. Then, at the end of the week, I'd submit a detailed overtime report to Dave, showing him all the extra work I did during my lunch hour. Dave was furious, but he couldn't deny my overtime requests without violating company policy. After a few weeks of paying me extra for work that I would have gladly done during my regular hours, Dave scrapped his strict lunch break schedule and let us go back to our old system. Next story. Nothing you can do about stolen food? Okay. Mandatory English is not my first language. I saw a story of stolen food at work and reminded me of one of my husband's stories, so I decided to share it. Over 15 years ago, my husband was a nurse technician at a private hospital in a small town in Brazil. At the hospital, there was a constant problem of food being stolen from the employees' fridge. There were constant complaints, but the administration would just ignore them. One day my husband brought a pot of cream cheese, requeijo, worth 2 reais, about 50 cents, put it in the fridge, and when his break came he saw it missing. He went to HR to report the theft, and they told him that since it was not hospital property, there was nothing they could do. My husband just said, "Is that so?" turn around and left. He went to the phone and called the cops asking them to come because there was a theft. He didn't tell them what was stolen. Now, private hospitals in Brazil have a big thing about image, so when 2 cop cars arrived at the front of the hospital, everyone, from patients, employees, HR, and even the top administration, came to see what was going on. One of the cops that arrived ended being one of my husband's uncles, so he just went straight to ask him what happened. My husband, with the most serious expression, just told him, loud enough for everyone to hear, that he wanted to make an official report that someone stole his 50-cent pot of cream cheese. There was a general silence before his uncle asked, "Are you serious?" If I knew this was about a 50-cent pot of cheese, we would not have come, and would have told you to go to the station to make the report if you wanted. My husband just answered with a smile, "I know. That is why I did not say what was stolen, and now you have to make the report," which he did. Obviously, the police wouldn't do anything about it, but because of the whole circus that my husband created, the next week the hospital installed a camera right in front of the employee's fridge and the food theft finally stopped. Next story. Guess we'll have the coffee. My sister just reminded me about this story. It takes place in 2017. I'm on mobile, forgive any formatting errors, but definitely come at me for spelling mistakes. She and I were out for brunch and had a lovely time at an upscale rooftop restaurant in the heart of our city. You know, the kind with a full setting, cloth napkins, and white tablecloth. The kind where a pancake entree has the word melange and mimosas are $16. We had a great time even though the service was a little rushed. We get it, Saturday brunch means a lot of tables with a speedy turnover. My sister had been a waitress all through college. We even joked about her applying for the weekend shifts since she'd make great tips. When it came time to settle the check, we noticed we had been charged for 2 coffees, which we didn't order nor receive. While handing the bill back, I asked that they be taken off. Waiter, "Well, you got coffee." Me, "I'm sorry, we actually didn't." See? Shows him the pristine empty coffee cups. Waiter, "No, there's 2 coffee cups on the table." Me, "There are coffee cups on every table." At this point he kind of huffs and rolls his eyes, and says he doesn't have the authority to remove anything from the bill. Before I can ask for someone who can, he smirks and says the manager on duty just went on break and we'd have to wait 30 minutes for her, but he'd be asking us to wait at the host stand since they need the table. My sister and I look at each other and we both get the same idea. Sister, "Well, okay. Guess if we're being charged for coffee, I'd like a refill." Me, "Oh, for me too. And can you bring cream and sugar?" It was at this moment he knew he effed up. We spent another 20 minutes sipping coffee and keeping him from turning the table. We asked for refills once, and I asked if they had any raw sugar packets. By the end of it he was pointedly ignoring us. We kinda giggled about it, and I made a very dramatic show of flourishing my card, putting it in the booklet, and setting it upright. My sister even tried to flag him down, but he refused to look in our direction. We finished and hung around until he came back with his manager. He was smirking again. Big lips, that guy. I have to say that facial expression stayed with me. Waiter, "Sickly sweet, okay you too, we have a seating time limit to allow our other guests the opportunity to eat with us." Will that be all today? Me, "Well, we've been waiting for you to take our check. I was trying to get your attention earlier, but you must have been busy." I offer him my card and the booklet, and I've never seen a human turn red so quickly. He mutters that he'll be right back and marches off to run it. While we were waiting, the manager asked us about our experience. We said we both had a great time, and we'd be back, and relayed what happened. At least we ended up enjoying the coffee. We paid, left a decent tip, and skedaddled. But it felt good knowing he probably cost himself a ticket's worth of tips over $9 in coffee. Next story. Leaving on time. I wish I had been the person practicing malicious compliance here, but it was one of my colleagues, Stephen. I worked night shift at the testing site for a major medical laboratory network. The shift was busy because patient specimens were collected at service centers during the day, and couriers would bring all these specimens to the testing site, starting in the evening and continuing well into the night. My shift ended at 7 a.m., when the day staff would arrive and take over the analyzers. So the night shift supervisor had told me that if any couriered shipments arrived after 6 a.m., I should leave them for the day shift to do, because at 6, I needed to do end-run quality control on the analyzers, clean them, and file my paperwork. No time to start running a late batch of specimens, and we wouldn't get overtime for staying late to do those. But the day shift supervisor, Lily, didn't like it when samples were left for her staff to process, and she told me that I should be more efficient and get them done, somehow. Then one morning she made a mistake. Instead of me on the night shift, it was Stephen. Lily came in at about 6:30, at the same time that a large batch of late specimens was dropped off. "Stephen, you have to process those," she said to him. Stephen didn't argue. He loaded all the specimens on the analyzers. And then, at exactly 7 a.m., he quietly went home. The day shift is typically busy at the start, so no one noticed that he had gone at first. Then the analyzers started producing results, flagging problematic specimens and so on, and everyone was searching for him. Had he gone to the washroom? Had he said anything to anyone? Where was the paperwork? What needed to be done now? Everyone was confused, and the situation created far more work than if the day shift had simply taken over from the start. Lily hated Stephen after that. But she never again told him to process late specimens either. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel or posts.